One. That's what it says. It says Shechionu, but my question was, why when a person builds a new house, should you make it Shechionu? If you're building that, if you're building the house for yourself, then you say Shechionu. Because that's like anything else that's for yourself, you say Shechionu. But when most people today build a house, not just for themselves, they buy the house, what? No, say it's for the family. So therefore, it's not just for yourself, it's for yourself and for others. So then my question would be, the bracha should be, I would think the bracha should be I told him, but I said we need to ask a posek halacha to address this issue. You know what I'm saying? Okay. We have to look more into it. We are Nun Dalet Omen Aleph, and we welcome Rav Daniel at the table. It's an honor to have him at the table. We are about 8 lines into the wide lines of the Mishnah. It starts the first word of the line is B'Tzilei. Nun Dalet Omen Aleph. Chayiv Adam. See 4 lines ahead of it. Chayiv Adam Levarach Al Hara. You started that. Mr. Hebrew, you got it. Chayiv Daniel, you have it. Yeah. What did you say? That part of the Mishnah. You have to, a person is obligated to say a bracha on the ra'ah, on the thing that's bad, just like he's obligated to say a bracha on the good. And we said, what does that mean? We said that it means, we know you have to say Dayan Emet. You already mentioned Dayan Emet. But it's more than just saying Dayan Emet. It's that you have to say Dayan Emet b'simcha. That's one of the mefarshim. The Aruch explains, because whatever difficulty that Hashem brings on a person is for his benefit. It's for his benefit. They are a kapara on the sins, he says. It's an atonement for a person's aveirot. Just like a person feels pain when he goes take a blood test, he said like, well, bloodletting. But bloodletting as a refuah. Those days, they would take out blood. They held that removal of blood was healthy, regenerates new blood, and they held that it was a very healthy thing to go ahead and do bloodletting. So when you would do bloodletting, you feel the pain, but you know it's for your benefit. It's for refuah. So that morning, so that's the same thing. The idea of someone has to show something bad happens to somebody. It's also like a refuah, and the attitude that a person should have that it's a kapara for his sins. No one should ever have to need it, but if it happens, you should realize that it's a kapara. Now, Shenema. Now the Gemara now brings the pasuk, and we're going to see in this pasuk which part of the pasuk is teaching us this lesson. The Gemara brings the pasuk, so we're going to bring a source that you have to go ahead and accept it b'simcha. Where is the source? The pasuk says, "B'hafta." What do you say? Someone's in the waiting here. Thank you very much. Morning, is that Nathan? Morning, Nathan. The pasuk says, Nathan, I reminded everyone to say the Birkat Torah, so I'm going to give you that reminder as well. The pasuk says, "V'hafta es Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha." So what does the pasuk tells you? You have to go ahead and love Hashem, all your heart, all your soul, and all your money. That seems to be one of the basic translation of the pasuk. But the Gemara analyzes the language of the pasuk, and the Gemara is going to tell you different drashot regarding this, what this pasuk, deeper meaning of this pasuk. Boker Tov Yosef Atzadik. So the Gemara says, the famous drasha. So first the Gemara says, "B'chol levavcha," doesn't say "b'chol libcha." How many hearts do you have? You have one heart. Yet the pasuk says 2 bays, "B'chol levavcha," all your hearts, so to speak, as if to indicate you have to love Hashem with multiple hearts. What is it referring to? B'shnei yitzarecha. You have within you have a yetzer hara and you have a yetzer tov. You have something within you, an evil inclination, a bad inclination. You could say it's a malach that's trying to get you to sin. It's a malach that's trying to get you to do mitzvot. You have that tug of war inside of you, and you got to serve Hashem with both Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. Now, what does it mean? You serve Hashem with the Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. Serving Hashem with the Yetzer Tov is very easy to explain. You have a Yetzer Tov that's trying to tell you to do mitzvot. So take that and run with it and follow the Yetzer Tov and do mitzvot. What does it mean to serve Hashem with your Yetzer Hara? So there's many explanations. The Rabbeinu Yonah says that the service of Hashem with the Yetzer Tov is to do mitzvot. And the service of Hashem with the Yetzer Hara means to knock out the Yetzer Hara. How do you serve Hashem with the Yetzer Hara? Hashem gave you a Yetzer Hara. You have an evil inclination. Yet, how do you serve Hashem with that evil inclination? I got it, and I'm going to overpower it. I'm going to overcome it. That's serving Hashem, because I'm listening to Hashem. I'm not giving in to what the evil inclination wants to tell me to do. That's how I serve Hashem with my evil, by overpowering it. If I would have that evil inclination, I'm not excelling in that aspect. I'm not doing something more. If a person just has only to do good, only Yetzer Tov. So I never showed my love of Hashem because in the strongest way, because I never was tempted to do otherwise. When I'm tempted to do otherwise, I'm tempted to sin, and I don't sin. That's how I'm serving Hashem with the Yetzer Hara. That's the pshat of the Rabbeinu Yonah. That's not the common pshat that most people say. The common pshat that most people say is the Meiri's pshat. The Meiri says Yetzer Hara means you take those you have physical desires, and you're involved in this world, but you take that and you channel those desires for Hashem. So you have a Yetzer Hara. You have desires. Yetzer Hara is a symbol of desires. And let's say you have a desire to eat. So you have to say, I'm going to eat on Shabbos. I'm really going to go ahead and really eat more because it's the honor of Shabbos, a siyum. I'm going to use the person, a person gets married when he have relations with his wife, l'shem Hashem, not for his own personal focus. So there's the idea of taking those desires and serving Hashem with those desires. I'm doing a mitzvah. I'm going to use it for mitzvah. So that is the more common explanation of how do you serve Hashem with your Yetzer Hara. And another interpretation I saw is that Yetzer Hara, which implies the negative, is sometimes you got to go ahead and be tough on certain things in life. But if you're not tough on certain things in life and you just give in to what people want, then you're going to break the Torah. So you have to sometimes take that Yetzer Hara that's telling you to act strongly, not to be so kind and not to be so merciful, to use that midah when it's necessary, not to be so kind, not to be so merciful. Sometimes if you have to, let's say for instance, on criminals, right? So people want to be merciful on criminals, and therefore, but the way you serve Hashem with the Yetzer Hara is not to be easy on the criminals. Be strong on the criminals. Of course, not to abuse the criminals, but sometimes when people misplace mercy, it's not appropriate. What do you say, Mr. Abraham? Okay. That's another opinion of the Rabbeinu Yonah. I'll read you the language.
Rabbi.
Yes, what did you say, Yosef?
Yetzer Hara actually come to give us and to give God opportunity to repay us at 10 times monim than what he should give us anyway. Because if we overcome the Yetzer Hara, it's like a test from God every single time, every single moment. When Yetzer Hara have coming to kick in and we overcoming is basically to come to give us a reward.
Right. That is the pshat of the Rabbeinu Yonah, what Yosef said. That's the first pshat. You serve Hashem with the Yetzer Hara. How? By overcoming the Yetzer Hara. By knocking him out. That's the other pshat. Okay, so we offered 3 pshatim in that. We'll continue in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, "B'chol nafshecha." You have to serve Hashem with your whole soul. What does it mean with your whole soul? So he's b'chol nafshecha. Afilu not less nafshecha. Even if you have to give your life, you have to love Hashem. Sometimes there's a time period that they want to go ahead and make Jewish people commit certain sins. Let's say if somebody says either you worship Avodah Zarah or take a bullet, you have to take a bullet rather than worship Avodah Zarah. The guy says either you commit adultery with this woman, or else you have to take a bullet. You take a bullet before you commit adultery. So there are certain times you have to go ahead and take a bullet. And that sometimes that shows the love of God that you're willing to give, that you're giving your life to do what Hashem wants. It definitely shows what that's right. Definitely. But remember, we have to make sure all sins we got to stay away from, but it definitely shows by the punishment and by how much Hashem asks you for it. That's called the big three. It's the other one, you have to take a person to take a bullet. Someone says either you kill him or you take a bullet. You take a bullet rather than kill somebody else. You have to be willing to take a person has to be willing to take a bullet, because what the Gemara says, what makes your blood more red than the other guy's blood? Therefore, you can't kill somebody in order to save your life, because you can kill somebody if he's trying to attack you. That's when you have to kill him first. But if someone says either you kill that guy or else you have to be willing to take a bullet.
What if you're like, only one person can survive?
Right. So that it says you come first. In that case, if it's only one, what? Right. So again, he's not asking you to kill the other guy. Here I'm saying, if he's asking you, either you kill the other guy, you take a bullet. You have to take a bullet rather than kill someone else. But if the question is who he wants to kill, I mean, you have a right to save your life. You know what I'm saying? Meaning, like the classic case is Nathan's case. If let's say someone's in a desert, there's only enough. I have water, and someone else doesn't have water. I have a right. I have a right to keep the water for myself. I don't need to have save his life before my life. Okay, so that we have to see the Gemara, what the Gemara says on that. Okay, no one should have that situation. And the third thing in the pasuk, you have to love Hashem with all your money. What does it mean? You love Hashem with all your money. So, what does mo'odecha mean? Right, mo'odecha. The word mo'odecha is like the word ma'od. Torah says the shmartem nafshosecha ma'od. You have to watch yourself, exceedingly watch yourself, a lot. Mo'odecha means a lot, which is the Gemara says referring to money. Person has, which money represents like an increase. You got money, so therefore you have to be willing to give your money, not to violate the Torah. What do you say? So here is referring to, okay, it might also be included in that, but the way the Gemara seems to be saying, if someone says either you pay me money, or I'm going to force you to do a sin, or pay money. To be willing to pay money rather than go ahead and what? Person says either you pay money or I'm going to force you to wear shatnez. I'm going to use the shatnez case that we had yesterday. Either you wear shatnez. If you don't wear shatnez, you have to pay me $1,000. You have to be willing to give $1,000 to the guy rather than wear shatnez. You really got to give him more than $1,000. Really, it would seem you have to give up all your money not to violate sins of the Torah. So it's a big thing. And that shows your love. You're willing to give up your money. That's how you love Hashem with your money. You're willing to give it up for not to violate the Torah. And of course, Hashem will take good care of you. He'll pay you back. He'll even the score. Don't if Hashem asks, whatever Hashem asks, Hashem takes the money away from the person because you did it through a mitzvah. Hashem has many ways to pay you back. Dava acher, a different shot in mo'odecha, in the word mo'odecha, b'chol midah. Whatever Hashem measures out to a person, you have to go ahead and love him. Whether it's a good measure or chas v'shalom, if it's something not positive. And that's going to be the source for what we said earlier. It says you have to say a bracha on the good. The same way you say a bracha on the thing that's a bad thing that happens. And you have to say it with simcha, with happiness. And where do you see they have to do with happiness? From this opinion that it says that whatever Hashem does, you have to love Hashem in all situations. So if you have to love Hashem, love has to do with happiness. Love means you appreciate the b'simcha. So therefore, that shows you a person has to accept the b'simcha. And I said Rav David Feinstein, which Yard says coming up Sunday night, he said that I think this is one of the hardest mitzvot in the Torah, and one of the hardest mitzvot to accept, to be able to say a bracha on something that's not happy, that's not good, to say it with simcha, to say such a bracha like Dayan ha'emet b'simcha. In reality, like we said, it's for the person's best, but to be able to reach the level to understand it's for his best. Really, this week's parasha about Avraham, and when Hashem tells him to go ahead, when he thought Hashem wants him to slaughter Yitzchak, he gets up bright and early in the morning. He saddles his donkey, and he's ready to roll. That's because of brought out his great love for Hashem, that he's able to go ahead and do it with such alacrity, with such resource, such diligence. That's the level of love that he had. And obviously, if he was doing it so early, he was doing it with the simcha, because he understood this is what needs to be done, and it's for the best. Even if we don't understand why, we don't understand everything why it's for the best, but we have to have confidence and know and knowledge that it is for the best. Okay, the Mishnah continues. Lo yakel es rosho. Lo yakel od rosho kineged shar hamizrach. By the gate, by the wall of the Har HaBayit, there was an area of 500 amot by 500 amot. The maximum amot is anywhere from 18 inches to 24 inches. So we're talking about maximum of 500 amot would be a maximum of 1,000 feet by 1,000 feet, which encompasses that's the area where the Beit HaMikdash was, the temple, the courtyard, and then there was another open area outside of it that was called they call Temple Mount, Har HaBayit. It's a holy place, and there's many laws about that area, how you act in that area, and you have to be a certain level of purity when you're in that area. It's a certain area. So, people also have to be careful, like when there are these near the Beit HaMikdash by the Arab side, there's certain places you're not allowed to go. You're not allowed to go because we're tamei, and you can't go to certain places. So here the Har HaBayit. So here it says, this spot, when you're facing this eastern gate, that is Yehud Muchuvan Kneged Beis HaKodesh HaKadoshim. This spot where you are facing the wall of the Har HaBayit. So really, you're right outside the Har HaBayit. You're right outside this holy area, but you're you're by the gate, like by the entranceway. But the gates were all in the same line. So the gate that was by this area, eventually, if you would stick a needle through straight through, you'll eventually hit the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Straight ahead would be the Holy of Holies. The way they explain it over here is that maybe Rashi says, Rashi says all the gates were right opposite each other. The eastern gate was facing the gate called the Ezras Nashim, and the Ezras Nashim gate was facing the gate of Ezras Yisrael, and so on and so forth until it faced the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So what's the law? If you're facing this spot, it's like make believe you're standing in front of a shul. So there's a certain respect that you should have. You shouldn't be lightheaded. You shouldn't be joking around. But sometimes people make a joke, right? Same way when you have your tefillin. You're not supposed to be making a joke with your tefillin. You're not allowed to make a joke. You want to make a joke when you don't have your tefillin on, make a joke when you don't have your tefillin on. But there's a law that says that when you have your tefillin on, you can't be kalut rosh. You can't act in a lightheaded way. Is that clear? Everybody's with me? So, very many people are careful not to talk at all with their tefillin, and that all will protect the person from kalut rosh and so on, from lightheadedness. So when you're facing this spot, so since this is you're in a direct line to the Holy of Holies, Your conduct has to be different. And therefore, what do? You cannot joke around. Mr. Haber, is that clear? No jokes, Mr. Haber, in front of that scale, all right? No joking around. No joking around. Okay, I always say kosher humor is all right. It's kosher. Not all humor is kosher. But no joking around in front of that spot. Okay, Ariel? Now, lo yakel adam es rosho kineged shara mizrach. You should not be lightheaded facing this eastern gate of the wall of the Har HaBayit. Why? Shehu mechuvan kineged beit kodesh HaKadoshim. Because this is facing the Holy of Holies. And if you go into the Har HaBayit, Temple Mount, that area that we said, anywhere in the courtyard or anywhere that space, that certain area by the Holy Beit HaMikdash, you're not allowed to go b'maklo, stick. Let's say you have a walking stick. You know, travelers, you have a stick and it gets dirty as a result of your travels. So it's not nice that you should be going to this Har HaBayit, this Temple Mount area with a stick that's dirty. That's why you should not, you can't carry that. You have to put down that stick, that traveling stick, and put it to the side, leave it outside the Har HaBayit, and you'll pick it up on the way out. When you enter the Har HaBayit, it's like you put the umbrella. Don't bring it's like you say, bring your umbrella. I'm not saying there's a problem with an umbrella, but you can understand. Don't bring your umbrella on that holy spot. So don't bring that stick. Now, one of the commentaries I saw said, but many noble people, aristocratic people in Europe, to see the pictures with the stick, right? Maybe what's his name? The guy from England. What's his name? Winston Churchill. He had a stick, right? He had a stick. That was not a stick. Maybe, I don't know. It was. Now sometimes it's a cane for walking, but that was a nobility. Sometimes sticks are for nobility. People just, it's a sign of aristocratic. That stick is not a problem because that's not a stick that's there that gets dirty and so on and so forth. So the stick that we're talking about is a walking stick that people gets dirty. You can't wear your shoes. You can't wear your shoes already. Like Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu when you're standing at a holy place, take off your shoes. If you take off your shoes, there shouldn't be any separation between your body and the holy ground that you're on. You should not have your shoes. Are you saying, why don't we do when you come into a shul? Yeah. Okay, it's a. Okay, good point, because we dress, you're supposed to dress the way you go in front of a king, or the way you would go in front of a king, you would be wearing shoes, and today in our country, it's normal to wear shoes when you're going in front of a king. We don't consider that, even though a shul is a holy place, we don't say that it has that level of holiness that in the Har HaBayit that you had to take off. You would not take off your shoes. Exactly, no shoes. So we have to look up what is the reason is because we don't want any real separation between your body. And I recall such an idea that maybe there shouldn't be a separation between your body and the ground that you're in, but there might be other ideas more about why you should have the shoes off when you're in the holy place. Now, Uber Pinduso. You should not wear your money belt. Let's say you have like they would have money belts and they would keep money in the belt. Like we have wallets. So this money belt is not respectful to have in this holy area. You keep your money belt outside, or don't bring it here today. Uba'avak sha'al raglav. If let's say your feet are dirty, you have dirty. You have to make sure you have to wash your feet when you're coming in. If you have dust on your feet. And you cannot make it a shortcut. Let's say you want to get to the other area, the other spot, I'm not interested in coming into the Temple Mount space. I want to get to the other side I want to cut through the Temple Mount to go to the other area. I can't use, that's the same halacha today. You can't go through a shul. Let's say you want to get, as a shortcut. If you want to go upstairs to the patio, so really you're not supposed to go through the shul to go to the patio as a short, if that's a shortcut to go in. But if you do that, if you go into the patio and you have other ways to go to the patio, right? And you're using that as a shortcut. So what we do is you say a pasuk. If you go into a shul, anytime you're using something to go from one side, if it's a shortcut, so then it's now if it's not a shortcut, so then maybe it's not a show. You're not showing disrespect. But if it's a shortcut, then it's definitely you have to go ahead and say a pasuk. So therefore, you're doing something in the shul or the beit midrash. You're learning as well. Urakika, and certainly to spit out, to spit out on the area, that's mekava chomer. Certainly from a kava chomer, we will learn that if you can't even wear your shoes, certainly you can't go ahead and spit in the Harabayit. I saw one of the commentaries point out, why is the Mishnah, what's the connection telling us these halachot? And what he says, we just spoke a minute ago about the love, the how you have to even love, how you have to love Hashem. We brought the pasuk v'haftas Hashem Elokecha. So now we have to talk about the other thing called yirat Hashem. There's the love, then there's the fear, and these laws are out of awe of Hashem, certain type of respect. You go ahead and you take off your shoes, you don't wear, your feet aren't dirty, and so on and so forth. That's the yirat Hashem. Now the Mishnah continues. Kol chotmei brachot shebamikdash. In the Beit HaMikdash, when they would say a bracha, how did they say a bracha? They went ahead and they said, Haya omrim ad ha'olam. So the way they explain is the following. Let's say you would say the bracha of chonen hada'at, right? So how did they, in the Beit HaMikdash, how did they say the bracha of chonen hada'at? They would go ahead and they would say, Baruch atah Hashem. Let's say you would say the end of bracha. So we say chonen hada'at. They said Baruch atah Hashem Elokei Yisrael min ha'olam v'ad ha'olam Baruch chonen hada'at. That's, let's say, in the second Beis HaMikdash, that's how they would end the brachot in the Beit HaMikdash. So they added, the conclusion of the bracha was longer than the way we conclude. We conclude Baruch atah Hashem chonen hada'at. Baruch atah Hashem harotzeh b'teshuvah. They said Baruch atah Hashem Elokei Yisrael min ha'olam v'ad ha'olam Baruch chonen hada'at. That's how they, a much longer ending of a bracha. And Rashi says they learned it from Psukim in Ezra, but that's how they concluded the bracha. That's the proper way to conclude a bracha in the Beit HaMikdash. However, in the first Beit HaMikdash, they did not say min ha'olam va'ad ha'olam. It was only added on by Ezra that they said, from this world, we say we bless Hashem, Baruch atah Hashem, from this world to next world. Min ha'olam, like from this world, olam hazeh, to the next world, to olam haba. And in the first Beis HaMikdash, they didn't say that. They just said, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokei Yisrael, min ha'olam. Baruch chonen hada'at. They didn't say min ha'olam va'ad ha'olam. What happened was, there were the Sedukim. There were these people, groups of people that denied in the next world. They denied in olam haba. So in order to combat that, the rabbi says we have to change the text of the blessing to openly mention, in a certain sense, this idea of the next world. And therefore we have to include it in the text of the blessing, and therefore they said min ha'olam va'ad ha'olam. So that's over Kilkul Sedukim. They denied in the next rule in Tchiyat HaMeitim, v'amru, and they said, what did the Saddukim say? Ein olam el echad. They said there's only one world. There's only this world. And in order to make sure that people should not fall in, Hiskinu, so Ezra and his Bezdin, they created, organized a text that was Shi Omrim, Min ha'olam v'ad ha'olam. What'd you say? Saddukim is like Saddukim. Those are Saddukim. There was a person by the name of Tzadok, and he was the one who created this group of people within Judaism to say there's only this. Like today we have Reform, conservative, different sects that they create their own thing. So he went away from tradition. He went away from tradition, and he created this movement called the Saddukim. The Kutim were also this type of similar mentality, or his folk. There's no. He created, says he doesn't believe in Olam. He'll put on do mitzvot. They'll do mitzvot, but they don't believe in the next world. That's what happened to that, and that's that type of group of people. Hiskinu, and then Ezra made another takana. What was the other takana? She Adam shoel shlom chaver b'Hashem. When you go ahead and say hello to your friend, ask about him, you would evoke the name of Hashem. And some explain because we're coming off the first Beis Hamikdash was the way I would explain it. The first Beis Hamikdash, one of the things that destroyed the first Beis Hamikdash, they did the big three sins, Avodah Zarah. And therefore Ezra and his Bezdin wanted to make sure that people should never worship Avodah Zarah again. So how do you make sure you don't worship Avodah Zarah again? You focus on Hashem. So therefore, they say when you go ahead and you greet somebody, a very you're not saying a bracha on a food. You're greeting somebody. You say Hashem's name. He says, and if you say you use Hashem's name in the greeting, like by Boaz. He found Boaz many years earlier. Boaz said, what did Boaz say? Yivrach Hashem. Boaz came. What says Yivrach Hashem? God bless you. But he said the real name of Hashem. That's what Boaz did. Now and I want to say maybe that explains also Ezra and his Bezdin also instituted brachot on food. They created those mitzvot because again they wanted to make sure that people wouldn't fall back to worship idols. And if you have a constant recognition and focus on Hashem, when you don't think about Hashem, then you're vulnerable to think about other things. But if you're Hashem, therefore they instituted all the brachot and so on and so forth, and that will bring us to have yiras Shemayim and fear of Hashem. He said to the ones that cut the wheat, Hashem imachem, and they responded, Hashem. We find by the Malach says to Gidon, Hashem imcha gibach. Says Hashem with you. He mentioned Hashem's name in honor of Gidon. So we found precedents. The people would greet with the name of Hashem. So the rabbi said, you know what? We found precedents in the history that it was done that way. We're going to make it a general takana. Not just Boaz did it, or some of the people in Boaz generation did it. We're going to make it a general takana for all of the Jewish community that when you greet someone, you say God's name in the greeting. God should bless you. You know what I'm saying? Like you say, you give him you know what I'm saying? That type of thing. That's how in the normal everyday greeting, that's how they would do it. Okay? And then V'omer al tavuz kizakni imecha, meaning you should learn from the ways your ancestors acted. And that's the way they acted, you should emulate that. V'omer eish la'asos Hashem me'feiru torasecha. Even though it might look like you're doing something not respectful, just saying Hashem's name all the time, but since it's necessary to ensure that people should do the right thing in life and have God in their mind, we're going to go ahead and you're allowed to go ahead and do that. I don't want people to be late for davening. We'll get ready for davening now. Have a great day. Beautiful Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Gotta get, there's a time to learn, there's a time to daven. We gotta do it daven right. With kavanah. Great Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Keep up your great work. Sorry. Keep up your great work, everybody. Thank you. You too. Okay, very good. Have a great, I think, you said about Shabbat, I'm gonna do something about a letter from a Moshe Feinstein where somebody gave him like some criticism about something, you're gonna see about
Whatever
Shabbat.
you think is
Yeah,
good.
they're gonna really enjoy it.
Yeah, we just like the topic.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great test. Especially you too, all too good. Yes.